What's up, guys? In this video, I'm not going to talk about anything overages related. I found this video on YouTube and I want to share it with you. This is a video of part of the prison that I used to work at. So here in Utah, they actually closed down the state prison that I used to work at before I got involved in overages. And they built a new one. So now they're doing a demo on it. And I found this video on YouTube. So thank you to the demo guy that filmed this. Appreciate it. Check out his channel. It's Demoson, Demoson, Demoson. So thank you, Demoson, for posting this. And yeah, guys, I just want to share this with you. I think it's interesting. It's interesting to me anyway, to just kind of look back and see, where I come from. So disclaimer, I will be sharing probably some gross details about my time working here, specifically in this facility. So if you don't want to hear gross details, don't watch this video. So there's your disclaimer. So you should see on your screen right here, Olympus Correctional Facility. This is one of the buildings of the prison. This was the mental health facility, okay? So this is where a lot of offenders were housed that had, mental issues, schizophrenia, all sorts of stuff. Okay. So what you're seeing here, this is a hallway that at the end of this hallway is the control room. The control room is where all the doors are operated, where all the cells are. You can see all of the different sections. Okay. So in prison, you've got your section, which is like the common area. And then you've got the cells within the section. You'll see that here. In this hallway, we had, our medical offices, in the infirmary. You've got the kitchen was down this hall, and like some of the staff offices, like social workers, stuff like this. So that's what you're seeing here is in this hallway. One of the craziest things I saw was in the infirmary in this building. It actually might have been down that hall you just saw. I can't remember. But sometimes especially offenders that have mental health issues, a lot of times they would self-mutilate so that they could, get drugs or go on vacation to the hospital, stuff like that. This is the rec room. This is where they would do church and, group activities, group therapy, stuff like that. But anyway, we had this one guy that he would self-mutilate himself. Very interesting guy. One of the things that he did was he actually cut open his scrotum. And one time I had to basically watch the nurse change out his packaging. And you would be surprised how much gauze can fit into the male scrotum. It's pretty amazing, actually. Right here, let me back up a little bit. So right here is this door that you see right here on the left, that door that's open right here. That's the door inside the control room. So they would, for security reasons, you see this sliding door. They would close that door, the door behind you, so that no inmates could get in. And so they would close those doors, and then they'd open up the control room so that you could get in there and, do your shift in the control room. So in Olympus, there were 4 different sections. There was Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. This is the Delta section. This was, mental health guys. These guys would not come out. So an officer was not allowed when I was working there. So I was there from 2014 to 2016. You could not come into this section by yourself. You had to have an officer with you. So, and you never had an inmate outside of their cell while the officers were in there. Okay, so these were very violent offenders. Here's the inside of a cell that you can see. You can see there's 2 beds. I can't remember. I feel like I could be wrong on this, but I feel like this was a single cell section, meaning there was only 1 inmate per cell, but I could be wrong on that. Here's Bravo and Charlie. So you can see these sections were much larger. Okay. In these sections, the inmates would be out and, mingling. So they'd be at the tables, they'd be watching TV, and an officer would be in here as well. And so, you'd have, each cell has 2 guys, And so you'd have all of these inmates and one officer usually patrolling around the section. So we are now inside the section, and then you've got the cells, of course. So this is kind of the outlook. So you can imagine you are always outnumbered as a corrections officer. And so because of that, you have to be very careful in how you act and what you say. You have to be very aware of, where you're at, how you're positioned. You have to be aware of who's around you, what are they doing. There's a term, head on a swivel, right? Your head always has to be on a swivel when you're a CO, especially when you are in the sections with all the inmates. Because you never know. You never know when things can pop off, whether it's a fight or, if like I said, this was a mental health facility, so you never know if someone's going to have a mental episode. So you're always watching your back. So they're in the process of demoing this facility right now. That's why everything's trashed. And I guess they did some trainings too with like SWAT and stuff. So everything's pretty beat up. This is the hallway that goes out to the yard. So those inmates that were able to go out and have rec time outside, that's where they would exit and go out to the yard this way. Now we're entering into Bravo section, which is basically the same as Charlie. Again, you've got, two people per cell, and they're allowed to be out. So right here, he's opening the door. Those windows you see in front of you, that is a control room. So you can see that the control room has a visual of all the different sections. Here's Bravo section. Right behind the cameraman is Charlie section, which we just went through. And so you can see what's going on in every section simultaneously while you're inside the control room. There were two sides of this control room. There was one that was watching all the sections, and then there's also the front side of the control room, which operated all the doors into the building and out. This is Alpha section. This is where these were all single cells. You can see these cages here on the walls. These were where a lot of the inmates' belongings were housed, because a lot of them were not allowed to have anything in their cell. This is where, folks that would do self-harm, self-mutilation, suicide risk, this is where those folks would be held. These are some of your most that have the most challenges. So you can see here, there's not even a bunk in here. There's just that cement pad. That's where they would sleep. I think it was actually this cell. We had a gentleman, I remember his name, but I won't say it. So it might have been this cell. This guy, he was so far gone mentally, he would drink out of his toilet, and he would take his feces and he would smear them all over his cell. He'd smear them all over the window. So you'd open up that window covering, because you can see here, let me go back a little. These little metal circles right here, right there, almost look like a doorbell. So we had this, what we called a wand, and you would push, it's kind of like a little handheld stick that you'd scan, and it basically allows you to track every time the officer visually checks on the inmate, so that they know that they are not in harm or they're not hurting themselves. So anyway, you would have to do, I think it was every 15 minutes, you would have to visually check every inmate in that section to make sure that they were not harming themselves. And I just remember this one guy, he, opening up the window, and there he is drinking out of his toilet. There's shit everywhere. And it's like, okay, that was one of those moments I had where I was like, is this really what I want to look forward to for the next, 20 plus years? And ultimately, I did not want to do that for the next 20 years. So that's how I discovered overages and planned my escape, so to speak, from working at the prison. So good times in Alpha section. Lots of weird happenings there. So now we're walking back out, passing the control room. Can't remember. I think this was just a storage room. Oh yeah, this was our gym. Hey, the weights are still in there. So some of the buildings had gyms and stuff, homemade gyms. There was artwork, a lot of times the inmates would do artwork or whatever. So that's all done. So yeah, that's a tour of Olympus. That was a mental health facility. There's some pictures. So yeah, some of the art from the inmates. Cool stuff, huh? Well, anyway, guys, want to share that with you. I thought it was interesting. Maybe you think it's interesting, or maybe you think that's dumb. But just want to thank the demo dude for filming that. It's kind of cool that get to see the inside. That's where I came from, guys. So I started out working there in 2014 at $16 an hour. So I think you can start at over $20 an hour now. So if any of you are looking for a job, you can check out the Utah Department of Corrections and they would be glad to have you. But anyway, don't recommend it, but hey, if you need a job fast, they can get you through there. So anyway, that's where I come from. A small sliver of the what I used to do before I started my business. So anyway, see y'all later.